Welcome. Happy Wednesday night. Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. Here's the speech. If you haven't followed WDWNT TV on YouTube, please do so now. And also, please give this video a like, as it helps people to find us. And we definitely want you to find us. It's me, and it's Patrick Hackett. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, Rob? It's Wednesday night. You know what that means.
Christmas is in the air.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the holiday special. I'm so excited. I can't believe it's on Disney Plus. B. Arthur, some really, hashing out a Boba Fett story. I can't wait to talk about the holiday special.
Oh, I thought we were here to talk about Wednesday.
Oh, right. It's Wednesday.
It's on Netflix. Wednesday. The show everybody's talking about. Are we not? I feel like we should be on the same page. You know what? Let's do your thing. Let's talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special.
I got the wrong hat.
You son of a nutcracker. So when they announced that this was happening, I was like, this sounds like they're trying to do and maybe you did too, the Star Wars holiday special. The 1977, 78 like nightmare that is the Star Wars holiday special. Love Star Wars. No offense there. There's a lot of lore that came out of that one, but at the same time, I thought this was going to be sort of like a tongue-in-cheek like salute to that one, but it feels like they went in a completely different direction. Were you expecting that?
I was expecting a little more kind of wackiness, like the non sequiturs that were kind of in the Star Wars holiday special, which, by the way, is not on Disney Plus, so don't go looking for that. And what we got was, like, dare I say, a modern day holiday classic.
You were very excited about this when you and I talked about it around Thanksgiving. You were like, "Hey, have you seen the Guardians holiday special?" And you had seen it. How many times have you seen it now?
I think 3.
Wow. You know what? Here's
Yeah.
the problem. There is so much Christmas content. There's content in general. There's way too much to be able to consume it all. And, some of the things that hit streaming services, you go back and you look and you say, hey, I want to watch that again because I can. I want to watch The Office, or I want to watch, whatever because I can. And then there's like all the new content that's coming out across all the streaming services, Apple Plus, Peacock, the whole deal. And so even just in the sphere of Disney Plus, if you go and you look at all the holiday content that's there, there's just not enough time. Unless you want to watch it year round, there's not enough time in the holiday season to go back and watch all your favorites and then all the new ones.
Yeah, I'm not a year-round holiday season person. I'm a let's give each season its own little bit of run. Although I think we talked about it briefly when we did Halloween. There's no like good Thanksgiving specials. I guess the Charlie Brown, and I think somebody in the chat mentioned a Garfield one. But I get into Christmas a little bit after Halloween. My birthday's on November 5th, so then it's rolling downhill towards the holiday season. And I can get enough of my favorites in. There's the ones you have to see.
Yeah. And you're saying this is one now that you have to see. Like this is on
100%.
your must-see list.
This is in my yearly rotation now.
What was that for me is you and I reviewed Prep and Landing. Like that one to me, as soon as that came out, became an instant, as we say, an instant holiday classic for me. Prep and Landing I had to watch every year. I still do. That, I have my Nightmare Before Christmas tradition that I do on Halloween that gets me into the new season. And then I always have to watch Prep and Landing and, Prep and Landing Naughty versus Nice. It's like they're awesome.
You got to watch the short, too. The short's really cute, and it has Betty White in it.
Yeah, it does. So let's get back to the speaking of short.
Yeah, let's go.
This is one of the Marvel Studios special presentations. This is the second one. Should we do a ranking?
What was the first one? Was it Werewolf at Night?
Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night. So they've both been kind of specials,
Holiday,
right? That was sort of a Halloween special. This one's sort of a Christmas special. We did a review of that.
Was that closer to a feature length?
It was 55 minutes. This one's 45.
Yeah, all right.
So but still, they're both considered special presentations. And I've seen some stuff in the trades that said that maybe Marvel was thinking of moving more towards special presentations rather than full series of shows, because it would allow them in sort of a one-shot to introduce more characters along the way. Like Nova, which is one of that's a Marvel character. Nova could be introduced as a special presentation rather than a series. Some characters, it's probably better for that because you don't need to have like learn their origin and have this whole like 6 to 8 episode arc, right?
So let's talk about like Werewolf by Night, at night. I always it's by night.
By
They
night.
dumped a whole bunch of characters in 55 minutes. If you're in a feature length movie, you might not be getting that much of each person, but you got a really good grasp on several characters in that. Luckily, Guardians is pre-existing characters, so we didn't need to go over their like archetypes. We know who they are, we know what they do, and now we're gonna have a rollicking holiday adventure.
Rollicking, you say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bought a thesaurus for Christmas, just started.
Yeah. So here's the Werewolf by Night. 54 minutes. I was 60 seconds off, but
Yeah.
yeah, and this also maybe sort of creates a playground because I know Michael
Oh
Giacchino
yeah.
directed this one, so maybe this can be a thing where people can kind of play around with stuff. I'm not really sure that I would have gone to the theater to see the Guardians
Hmm.
Holiday Special in a 90-minute format. I probably would have. I'm lying. I totally
All
would have
right,
gone to
but
see anything
listen,
Marvel put out.
what if they threw it in front of Strange Worlds?
Yep. Okay. Sure. But I mean, this way
This
they
is
get
the
to.
synergy you need.
Yeah, that's true. This way they get to play around a little bit, and play around they did. This one has the feel of a holiday, like a traditional holiday special. Like
Hmm.
one of the things that happens, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. So you help me on this. When it opens
Okay,
up, it opens up with the rotoscoped animation that
I
they
loved
did
it.
to tell the backstory of how Yondu and Quill had kind of had this relationship of about Christmas, and so it starts with that. What did you say about that? You love that?
Loved it because Michael Rooker is amazing. And anytime I can get more Michael Rooker, I was wondering how they were going to bring him back when he was announced for it. I was like, I hope we're not doing like a whole, before it is saying Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of timeline. It takes place between Love and Thunder and Guardians 3, so it's in that area. And I liked it because I liked its device as a flashback. I enjoyed kind of the animation style. I thought it was a good way to kick it off.
Yeah, but I mean, you talked about Michael Rooker. We could have brought Michael Rooker back in a flashback. It didn't have to be. It didn't have to be animation, did it?
Hmm. I don't know.
Like to me,
That's a
that kind
really
of
that's a really good question. Like it
like to me
feels
that chopped
cuter.
it up a little bit.
Okay, I can see that, but I felt like it made it brought me into the world of a holiday special a lot faster. I think it felt very Rankin and Bass and some of those other ones. I'm trying to think of the other company that had that very distinct animation style that was doing a lot of the holiday specials.
Well,
Um,
the rotoscope
yeah,
situation is they basically, and it's kind of like a 2D animated version of CGI, of them going in and recreating characters on top of animated characters on top of actual actors.
yeah,
So this is kind of the effect that came up with is this look of young Peter Quill.
very Luke
But
Skywalker-y.
they actually had them on set dressed up like this so that they could do the rotoscoping. And so I'm like, okay, you already got Michael Rooker there with the
Hmm.
kid and the toy, and you've already gone to the trouble to costume them and the whole bit. Like, just give me that. That was my thing. Is like, I get it's Christmas,
Took
Christmas
you out
animation.
immediately. It just
Yeah.
pulled you right out. See, I like it as a framing device for the movie, for the short, because it starts and ends with it. I think it's a
Okay.
good framing device and kind of it shows us a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with Marvel, when there's a million Earths and a million different timelines, and where are we in the story? The amount of text I sent back and forth to my friends about what characters are alive and what characters aren't, and where did they go, and when the ship was destroyed, just trying to put it all together. I think you need that clear delineation that this is a memory, this is a flashback, this is a dream. It's not this isn't Yandu from another timeline who's suddenly here. I think that's might have been where you got some confusion, Mister. I love canon and continuity.
Well, you know what? Speaking of which,
Oh boy. Ah.
so I want to go. I'm gonna go like normally when we do, and let me just give this disclaimer right here, we will get into spoilers on this. I mean, it was only 45
Yeah.
minutes. Hopefully you've watched it by now. It came out on what, November 25th. You had
Yep.
plenty of time to watch it in a timely manner. Hopefully that's why you're here tonight, is you want to like get into this as well as we do.
Oh yeah.
So there will be spoilers, but I want to take this at like a higher level than just play by
Okay.
play through the movie, because
Yeah, yeah.
or the special, because there's a lot of things that pop up to me as I'm watching this, and I'm like, I wonder why. So in Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, the attraction at Epcot, which you've experienced and I love, and we've
Yeah.
talked about before on Park Center, etc., that one doesn't have Mantis. Now,
Right.
I get that like it has Gamora in it. I've also been
Right.
told that the stuff that happens in the parks with the Marvel stuff isn't canon necessarily. So it's just existing in that plane, which I kind of get. It has to be timeless, and so it's a bottle episode basically when they
Oh
do
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
so
Okay.
yeah, I mean, but Gamora's in that, and she's like it's seemingly like the old school Gamora. Mantis isn't in it yet, and then here we come right at the same time, like we come out with this special, and the special doesn't have Gamora, but it has Mantis, and I just kept thinking, why wasn't Mantis in Cosmic Rewind? And then go
Yeah.
ahead, feedback.
No, no. No. So finish your thought because I'm gonna hop into it a little bit more.
Yeah, get into it. All right, so here's my other thought is when I'm
Yeah.
watching this, I sometimes I'll take myself out of it and go, why did this happen? And my
Okay.
why did this happen is why did they choose Drax and Mantis to go on to this adventure?
Oh,
And I wonder if the question is like, did we need to develop those characters more, or is the thing that like they could have gotten them for cheaper for to do it longer, and that's why they did it, or was that like James Gunn's motivation the entire time is to say, well, it's going to be Drax and Mantis on a buddy adventure? Like that
I
to me
think it's
was weird.
the latter. I think it's because of who the characters are, and they're more fish out of water than the other characters would be. Um, and I don't know. I don't know what everybody comes their price tag is. Bradley Cooper ranking in more than Dave Bautista, probably.
I would think.
Palm, man, I can't pronounce her last name. The woman who plays Mantis, who is amazing, seems to
Clementif.
be like Clementif. She's awesome. She's a classically trained French actor, and this is what she does. She's been in a ton of James Gunn stuff. Just an amazing story, and I think that their two fish out of water is great. Now let's take the attraction. So the attraction, my guess is they're saying it took place earlier in the timeline. That's the simplest way to make that make sense. Is that this is something that was built, especially because there's a Nova Corps ship, and there's references to stuff that haven't been destroyed. Because when we get here, the Guardians now own nowhere, which
Right.
is kind of new to all of us. There's so much story in this that has more ramifications. You can't keep everything in park in universe simply because it's its own universe, and you can't count on cast members to say the right things at the right time and be completely caught up. So I get why they're not in there, and I think people would have been disappointed if Gamora wasn't in the attraction and it was Mantis. Although, man, every single person in this cast, like, if they wanted to do buddy cop comedies with any combination of the two, I'm good with it.
You're there for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then I guess sometimes that's where like James Gunn did Peacemaker off of the Suicide Squad, and so but is that because John Cena wanted a project? I don't know. So they give us this stuff, and we go, thank you, I'll take it. But I wonder
Yeah,
all the time
exactly.
in the background, what is it? What play? What happened to get us to where they are on this?
Well,
So
I mean, we're going to talk about a couple things that are really interesting tidbits in universe now. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely, and that's part of the spoilers. But the other thing
Yeah.
is that that bothers me sometimes is when the actors don't show up. Like in this one, we have Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper, and we have everybody represented except for Zoe Saldana as Gamora, which there's probably reasons that may tie into Guardians 3 that makes sense here, because she is in the trailer for Guardians 3. We've seen that released this week. So when we go and we're talking about like the actors and coming back, when you go to the What If series, there's a bunch of, including Dave Bautista, who didn't show up, and I'm like, wait a minute, you can get Chadwick Boseman, but you can't get Dave Bautista? That sounds weird. And then the same thing when it comes to like the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, drives me nuts that that's not
Oh,
Bradley Cooper. I just
okay. But you
why?
have him here. Can't you just be like, hey, Bradley, here's, I don't know what rich people moves the needle for them. Here's $2 million. Can you please re-record all of the rocket lines for this attraction, because it is a glaring omission.
Yeah,
Um,
and
it's
you're right.
you
Like if
gotta
you get a
lock
hold
that
of him,
down.
yeah, if you get a
You
hold of him,
gotta
there's
lock that down.
nothing that you couldn't go into the remixing and just fix that with that
Yeah.
and put it back in. And maybe that'll be like, the Yeti or anything else that at some point they'll go back and they'll fix it and we'll report on it and it'll be great. But it just bothers me a little bit that like when you can't get those folks in and it just seems like you've got them in house and a lot of this stuff is voice actor stuff. Like Michael Rooker was there. We have that picture. He was on set. He didn't just like hit that in a
Yeah.
studio and send it to him. He showed up, he dressed out, the whole deal. I mean, he was in it to win it. So I don't know. It just gets me when those characters aren't there, or those
Yeah.
actors aren't there, because I'm just like, what are you doing that's more important than Marvel? Because right now Marvel is everything.
We talked about it a little bit in other shows. What are you getting up and going to the theater for? Clearly, it's not animation lately. People point to the Minions, but that Minions box office is mostly foreign, not domestic. You're getting up and going to the theater for these big Marvel blockbusters, and I don't know. I guess there's some people that want to be done with them. I can see that it could be a really tiring experience. Then there's Hugh Jackman, who's like, "Yeah, I'll come back for another ride. Who cares?" It's hard to tell what motivates people and why they pick stuff. Some people might just feel like they've told their story and they're done.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
So when the animated part opens up, Patrick, this is the continuity stuff that freaks with my head.
Okay.
When the animation part starts out, he's sitting there. I always want. I don't remember. Anyway, he's sitting there, and they're sitting around the tree, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we made this tree." Well, it's an actual tree. Where'd they get the tree? Like there's like random things hanging off of it, which I get, that makes sense. But where did they get a tree in a pine tree in space? Where did that happen?
I mean, there's
Should I
planets
just
all
not worry
around.
about it?
No, no, you can worry about it. That's a fine thing. I mean, there's planets around that have trees, obviously. They're the
Yeah,
guardians of the galaxy, not the neighborhood.
yeah. No, I get you.
You're saying there's not pine
Uh,
trees in other in other planets?
I've not seen one in the series. Well, I guess there is one. There's when Rocket's setting all his traps. He's setting them into trees, so maybe that's where they got
Mm.
it. I don't know. In this one, we're introduced to the Guardians are now on Nowhere, as you mentioned, and they've
Yeah,
apparently bought it from the Collector, so we know the Collector still exists
right.
in universe somewhere, which is
That
crazy
was
to me. I feel
weird.
like he's gone. Yeah,
Right, exactly. Yeah, I thought he was gone, and they bought it, and I was like, at bare minimum, he's a super bad guy. So you bought this like fair and square from him, and
right.
didn't we blow up nowhere, or just crashed his gallery?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. It was weird with so a lot of the things that happened when the snap happened came back, but things that happened before the snap never came back. That's why
correct.
Gamora didn't come back. That's why Black Widow didn't come back. Because anything that happened before the snap wasn't reversed. The attack on Nowhere with Thanos to get the stone, you would think that he had just decimated the Collector at that point.
Yes,
So
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was that was kind of weird to me that had been a thing. The next thing is I don't know. New Groot bothered me at first. Second watching, I was okay with New Groot, but
I was,
but
yeah.
go ahead.
He's kind of buff, kind of jacked. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was a good look for Groot. I guess this is like late teen Groot. Is that what we would say? Does that look like to you? Late teens, early 20s, like end of high school, start of college?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
they're saying that he is he's still a kid or whatever, but The
Yeah.
funny thing to me is like this seems like a fun age Groot. Like you know
Yes.
the one the like
Yeah.
the adolescent one that was just like rah rah rah. You know
Yeah.
that one wasn't fun to me. You had regular Groot was funny because he was just like very offbeat, and then you had
Mhm.
Baby Groot, and it's like okay this is
Cute.
adorable, and then you have
Mhm.
like you have him in the pot, and then the walking Baby Groot is cute, and then the adolescent one I was like
I think
I've
that has a
lost.
lot to do with life experience.
But this version of him is the funny thing is that when we first see him, he's in the background, and I
Yeah.
honestly it was in the background of that opening like montage song when they sing that during the credits. I see him jumping around in there, and I literally thought this was like a costumed character on this world and not actual Groot because I'm
Oh.
like kind
Oh,
of
I
like when
caught
you
it
see.
immediately.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
didn't actually put it together until at the end when when he's watching Quill and kind of lures him out, and I was like, oh, there's that guy dressed up in Groot cosplay again, because it didn't seem like it was like Groot. And
Yeah.
then after I saw that, some of the emotion that he showed was so good that you're just like, oh,
Yes.
I like this guy. Like he's my like that.
Yeah.
This is a good one. This is a good Groot now because
This is
like
like,
when
you're past that stage and now you're 21, you're going out for a beer with your parents. You're getting real. It's a fun stage if you're not awful. Yeah.
he gets his present at the end from Quill,
Yeah.
and he's like oh this is nice. It's just like yeah that's that
Yeah.
kind of energy that you would have in that like late teens early 20s kind of a thing.
And
And
the
when he
really
went
sentimental gifts. I thought it was really
oh yeah
sweet.
exactly. So yeah I at the first pass of this I thought this it looks ridiculous. Looks like the version of Groot that would be outside of the Chinese theater in California. And then after like the second watching, I'm like, no, I get it. I totally,
Yeah.
I'm on board with
Yeah.
him. So
It's so
he's,
cute.
yep, he's a baby. Look at the baby. Um, so we have a lot of things. I'm asking myself when I'm watching, this presentation. When I watched Werewolf by Night, it advanced the story along in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the way that it introduced all of these new characters, as you mentioned, that will probably tie in with Moon Knight and a couple others down the road, and we'll see them tie in maybe with Doctor Strange. And so, that version of the Marvel world is
That
going to
end,
be
yeah, like the
interesting to see.
mythical, magical
So
realm.
it moved that storyline along without us having to
Mhm.
do like an 8 episode arc of that. That was great.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this going, how is this moving it along? And there were a few little things that happened. And here's where the big spoilers come in. There were a few little
Yep.
things that happened that I was like, okay, if you didn't see this, how are they going to tell me later? Like if you don't have Disney Plus, and if you don't, shame on you. But if you don't have Disney Plus, how are they going to explain that this happened to you? The same way of like Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett. It was really important if you're a Mando fan to have watched that because of how much Mandalorian was in it. It was really kind of like Mandalorian season 2.5. I'll be interested to see in Mandalorian 3 how much of that they have to retell us because they told the story within another series
This
theoretically.
is
This
this
is
is
the
the
same
big
thing here.
problem. This is the problem. It's
Talk,
so
talk to me,
much
buddy.
media. It's so much media. It's so much. You're asking for so much commitment from people who just want to be fans of your product. Like it's work. I haven't watched Andor yet. I don't know what time I have to watch Andor. And it's just like, what do I need to know? I've never even finished Bad Batch. You just keep putting new shows and new shows out, and I think this is why ultimately led to the demise of Bob Chapek is because we kept pumping new product out and you weren't getting new subscribers because the people that you had were the people that were already aboard. Nobody's going to see like Bad Batch and be like, oh, that's the one that's going to get me to subscribe to Disney Plus. So you're putting all this money, all this talent, all these resources, and you're exhausting your fan base.
Yeah, but you were talking about that, and I'm thinking immediately about Star Wars when they were releasing the movies and they were doing the Star Wars story of Rogue One, the Star Wars story of Han Solo. Those things they seemed to do exactly what you were talking about, kind of fatigue the audience. But up
Yeah.
until recently, I haven't felt that has been the case with Marvel. It's almost been like whatever you're throwing out there, we're picking it up. Whether it was the Groot shorts that you and I reviewed, or whether it's She-Hulk or Moon Knight on Disney Plus, or if you're going to the theater to see Eternals or Thor: Love and Thunder or
I think we saw a
Multiverse of
little bit
Madness.
after Eternals. We saw a little bit of backlash that it was too much, especially because that movie is so long.
Well, I mean that one to me, I'm still waiting for the Marvel Universe was doing this all the way
Yeah,
through to Infinity War and Endgame.
yeah.
Then I feel like it kind of tapped out a little bit, but I will say that the Spider-Man side of it, like No Way Home, I'm still all about
Yeah.
that version of it. But a lot of the movies recently, and I just watched Wakanda Forever, they're we're I'm waiting for you to do something for me because you were doing this thing where you were showing me little glimpses of the Infinity Gauntlet and it coming to light, and I think we're going to start to see that when we move into the Kang the Conqueror sort of a situation. Is we're going to see that build up again to something, and that's what we need. We haven't really had a build up to something. We've been introduced to the multiverse through Loki, through Multiverse of Madness, and all these other, and No Way Home. So we've seen a lot of the multiverse, and this is kind of Phase 4 has been sort of the multiverse saga, whereas Phase 1 through 3 were pretty much all Infinity War or Infinity Gauntlet saga.
So
The
I
Kang,
think
I'm waiting for
let me
Kang,
hop in.
is what I'm saying.
Let
Hop in.
I guess I think the individual products that we've had have been almost superior than some of like the early phase 1 stuff, some of the phase 2, but there's not what you're saying, this overarching thing. There was always the stones in the background. There was always Thanos in the background. There was Hydra. There was something. We don't know what the risk that Kang is. We only have seen him briefly. I imagine Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be a little bit more into him, and we're going to start to see what the real threat is. Lately, the threats have just been like existential crises. It's been a lot more looking into the psyche of the superhero than going out there and throwing a huge big budget bash. And I imagine I haven't seen Black Panther yet, but I know there's some of those big fight scenes, set pieces, and that it's still really about Wakanda.
Yeah.
It's more about the characters and the storyline as a whole.
All right, so let's move back into the world of the holiday special. By the way, I
Yep.
mentioned in the title of this YouTube video that we're reviewing Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, the musical, because it
Yeah.
reminded me because of how long this title is of High School Musical, the musical, the series. But
Yeah.
at the same time, this is kind of a musical. I mean, music has been very important to Guardians of the Galaxy all along.
Yes.
The Cosmic Rewind music is important to that. Even the Guardians Tower in California, music is important to that. So music has been important every step of the way for this. But this one sort of became a musical in the fact that there were actually people singing in it, as
Yeah.
opposed to just hearing music in the background.
So this is what made it feel the most like a old school holiday special to me.
Okay.
Is that all of a sudden people randomly break out into song? It's and the songs are so good. That old 97 song, is that the name of the band? The old 97s?
Yeah.
That song's great. It's silly, it's fun, it has a good rhythm to it, it's catchy. And then Kevin Bacon's songs at the end is pretty great too. So I don't think it's a musical. I think it's almost like a sitcom episode that has special guest star Kevin Bacon and his band.
So here's some of the music. It has a soundtrack. Fairy Tale of New
Yeah.
York is what opens and closes it from the Pogues. Christmas Wrapping is they're playing that one when they go into the bar.
Yeah.
I Want an Alien for Christmas from Fountains of Wayne was a little random. Christmas Time from the Smashing Pumpkins, I definitely remember hearing that one.
Yeah.
The one though that I think is funny because here it is, Christmas Time is the one that Kevin Bacon sings in there, but the one that says, "I don't know what Christmas is, but Christmas time is here." You know
Yeah.
what I think of every time that I hear that? I think of
What?
this. This is the
Yes. Oh
song
my
that they were
God. Yes.
singing on SNL
Yes.
when they did this. Like
Oh,
that's this
brilliant.
song, and that's all I hear when I hear that.
Yeah.
But Christmas
so
time
good.
is here, and then Tracy
Oh,
Morgan doing this thing. Oh my gosh, yeah!
one of
If
the
you haven't
all-time
watched
great
that,
skits that Jimmy
yeah.
Fallon managed not to ruin. So good job,
Pew
Jimmy.
pew. pew with like the keyboard. It was so funny. But that song, that's what I think of from
I
that
can see
song.
that. I can see that. Yeah, but I think it has that very Guardians of the Galaxy retro, new retro. There's a word for it. My brain is super fogged. But it has that like new retro feel to it, and it feels in place. Everything in here feels in place with these characters. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't
All
I
right.
don't disagree with that. But like, and the song that they sing to Quill about, hey man, we heard about this Christmas thing that you did, and we wrote a song about it, and that talking back and forth where like Peter Quill like talks in it, that feels very musical. That
Yeah.
feels very like a musical
Yeah.
where he's
Yeah.
putting in he's putting in like dialogue,
Yeah.
right? Because one guy's
Yeah.
singing and the other guy's talking to him, and it makes it feel like
Man, Chris Pratt's
Hamilton or
comedic
something.
timing in that bit is just so good. So,
Did you
so
just
good.
did you just get these instruments? Uh, yeah, that was funny. The other thing that we learn here, though, is that Mantis has a secret, and she's told it to
Yeah.
Drax. And it's interesting that they reveal it to us, and I didn't know why they didn't wait till the end
Yeah.
to reveal it to us. But I feel like they teed it up for us, and that is that Mantis is, and this is the spoiler. If you haven't watched it, run away. That Mantis is half sister to Peter Quill because her dad was Ego, which
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
she like why she was there with him on the planet. So but she brings it up to Drax early on, and then he tells like she tells Quill at the end. And then I was like, at first time watching, I was like, why wouldn't they wait and like us learn it with Quill? But I do think it had a more emotional impact to me.
Yes.
I literally teared
Yeah.
up, I think, the second
Me
time. Had
too.
more of
Oh, good.
emotional
I'm glad you
impact.
said that. I'm glad that and the presents. The presents got me, man. I've been incredibly like nostalgic and just emotional. I guess it's the time of year, and just
Yeah.
like it just gets that one little actor tear that comes and wells up and just falls down
But
your face.
by the way, when you were working to get words to come out of your mouth, nouveau retro is what Kate says in chat here.
Thank
Is that
you.
what you were looking for?
Thank you. That is
Yeah.
100% what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Thank you.
Nico says Star Lord is the best. I have thoughts on that based on that. He had to further the story along in Infinity War, but like that whole scene with him and Thanos and him messing
He
up
was
the whole
definitely
thing
the worst in
made
that moment. Yeah.
made me wanna hurt him somehow. Um, so anyway, by the way, thank you guys again for watching. If you're watching, please make
Yeah.
sure to click like on this. We would appreciate it. I didn't do trivia tonight, my friend, but I want to play a
Good.
little game with you just in
All
case.
right. I'm
Okay.
ready.
Here's what I'm gonna do. You have your Slack open, right?
No, but I can. Boom.
So
There we
here's what
go.
I'm gonna do: is I'm gonna send you a word, and from
All right.
now until the end of the show, you have now until the end of the show to use this word in context. And people in
Okay.
chat, if you know that this is the word that he's trying to shove in, tell us in chat, because I want you to do it flawlessly.
All
I
right.
want you
You
to.
got
So
it.
you're gonna have this one
I'm
word
ready.
that in your reviews you're gonna have to say something in the next 27 minutes.
Okay. I'm good. You send it to me. I'm ready for that. This is better than trivia because I was so focused on enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely, I
glad.
can do that.
No, and you know what?
Ah,
That's fair. Newer stuff probably you don't need to do trivia because you're watching it just to take it all in.
yeah.
So I get that,
Well,
and I do have fun with trivia,
sometimes,
especially when we embarrass you during in front of Ike Eisenman. I love that. That was a peach.
sometimes if the movie's really bad, it's all I could think about. It's trying to figure out what the trivia questions are going to be. And I was like, everything here seems pretty straightforward. So,
Yeah,
going back to Star Lord, man,
but
it's a
you got
great
that word
character.
though. You got the
Oh,
word though.
absolutely. I'm ready.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
don't worry
sometime
about that.
between now and the end, you have to say that word
Totally.
in your review, and then the people have to tell us if what the word is if they think that you've
Yeah,
shoved it in there and it didn't like fit so
that's going to
nicely.
be perfect.
Go.
Star Lord, what I really like about Marvel and that I don't like about DC, and we get a really weird DC reference in this that, like, trying to figure that out. I've been thinking about it nonstop. Um, is that he's a multifaceted character and he shows growth. Peter Parker shows growth. the important thing with Star-Lord is, yeah, he was that brash idiot who messed everything up in an earlier film, but he's grown. He's trying to do things. And I think that's important, that they're not just this archetype, and what they are is what they are. I think that's why it's important to have like that flexibility in the character and the growth, and we can hate him and be mad at him for that, and love the Star-Lord that he's become, and kind of his vibe is this mayor. It feels like mayor of nowhere.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. But he's showing like he's got, you know, when we first meet him in the first movie, he doesn't really. It's kind of like he's still Andy from Parks and Rec. You know,
Bit.
that's who he is. And as things go on, he falls in love. He meets his dad. He takes on a lot more responsibility, and that's really, this is like the pinnacle of that. He's running a business basically. He's running, he's signing papers on the side. He's like, I can't mess with you right now with this song you're doing. I got to go back to work. You know, he's showing a lot of responsibility. And I think that's a lot of the growth you were talking about. But let's talk about the DC thing you were talking about, because very, very kind of secretly, I feel like, without a lot of pomp and circumstance, James Gunn has kind of been named the Kevin Feige of the DC universe. He has been given co-captain role in reforming the DC universe, and I think part of that probably came from his success with the Suicide Squad, which then rolled into the Peacemaker TV show, and so he's kind of he's going to be overseeing what we know as like the DC cinematic universe down the road. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he would do a DC Easter egg in here, but you were not a fan.
I don't know. It's been boggling my mind. So you were talking about some of the stuff that pulls you out of the story. And so when they say, Kevin Bacon says, I'm the Batman, I'm like, whoa. He goes, no, wait, I'm Bruce Wayne. And Drax goes, who's Bruce Wayne? I'm like, yeah, Drax wouldn't know who Bruce Wayne is. So does, I guess, DC exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And apparently so do the Friday the 13th films. So, you know, Jason X, maybe he runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what I'm waiting for right there. Jason versus the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I mean, you'd be more likely to see Predator because of the ownership than Jason, but yeah, it is weird and seemingly uncalled for that that's the hero that he becomes in the whole thing. So we'll get we'll get that in a bit. Tears for Fears is the best song, followed very closely by September. Thank you, Jarrett. I agree. We were talking about Cosmic Rewind the other night on Park Center, and I mentioned that like I've gotten all the songs in there except for September. But the very first one I had was Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and as I'm rolling through it, felt right. Like that felt like the you know, that it fit really well. And I know they went through a lot of songs, because you hear a lot of them when you're exiting the building that didn't fit enough to put them on the attraction. You know, I wonder what kind of stuff maybe didn't fit in here, like into this thing, because like we said, there's a ton of music in a 45-minute special. That's why I said it's kind of like the musical.
Yeah, I could see that. Especially when you sold it to me with the talking during the song part. It's that very meta kind of musical moment. So I think, you know, we danced around it a little bit. Let's talk about the real star of this show. It's Kevin Bacon.
Okay, all right. So in the story, they want to do something nice after they've heard this heartbreaking story about Yondu and messing up Peter's first Christmas, and that he's never been the same since, and they want to do something nice for him. So Mantis and Drax go off to Earth because he's always talked about Kevin Bacon, and they want to get him Kevin Bacon for Christmas because that's his hero, his idol, and so they're going to go to Earth to get Kevin Bacon. And to your point earlier, I'm with you on the fish out of water thing. Like, they're the ones, like, you can't send Rocket. He's too out of place on Earth. But when you send these two there, they are fish out of water, and the first place they happen upon is the Chinese theater, and this is where it gets a little meta already.
Is this the best scene in the movie?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's
you
the
tell
best.
Me.
Yeah.
For them getting, but like, here's the question I had. Yeah, she goes up and hugs Captain America, and then he runs away, and she's like, what happened? And he's like, oh. And yeah, I do think this scene is funny. Him punching the robot, that was funny, like the Transformer.
His cousin was killed by a GoBot. I'm like, what?
So then, but the one thing that didn't connect with me is that Mantis, fish out of water, doesn't know what money is. So when they keep handing her this paper, how does she know that this is money? But then she collects it all and has all this money that she's making off of all these photos. But I do think it's funny, and I wondered, like, do you think any of that was like not staged? Do you think any of that was
I
like
don't
they
know.
just
I did
showed
think
up?
about it. I did think about it. But Drax and Mantis, they have to be well known too. I guess people do start taking pictures with them. But if you saw somebody and you're that person, wouldn't you kind of like act like you knew a fellow Avenger? I mean, we've all seen you fight together. It was something that my wife got a little bit perturbed by, is that Kevin Bacon doesn't know what to make of them. And we've clearly seen that there's aliens in the world. Everybody has seen it. It's not like it's a big secret. The attack on New York happened. There's plenty of things that these people have been spotted where I don't know how much everybody knows about Thanos' snap. They call it the blip. But the idea that aliens exist is not out of the realm. And I think, like I said, you might have seen Drax and Mantis. So it felt kind of off that he didn't know. Maybe he thought just because it was Hollywood, there are a couple goofballs in costume.
So here's a couple questions I have about this. So they go down to
Yeah.
Earth and they have their moment on, their fish out of water moment on in front of the Chinese theater. They go into a bar and have that moment. That was a pretty cool scene. And then they go and they get a map of the stars. They go to Kevin Bacon's house. First question: is that Kevin Bacon's house? Do you think?
No, hold on. I have the trivia. It is another famous person's house. It is David Crowder. Was remodeled by his wife Tony, who is an architect. What a gorgeous house that is.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. Second question is: could this have been someone else?
No.
Because
Nope.
he talks about David Hasselhoff. You could have
Yep.
done David Hasselhoff as one.
Nope.
I mean, no, wouldn't have worked with David Hasselhoff. I feel like I wrote.
I mean, just
somebody
because I
else
saw
down.
Kevin Bacon in it, it was perfect. Who else?
Shatner.
All right, Shatner would work. Shatner would definitely work. All right, that's a good one.
I mean, it would have to
But the
be.
thing is-
It would have to be someone that was a big star and is now
Yeah.
sort of bigger than life. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, like Kevin Bacon is the perfect
Arnold.
choice. I think. Who?
Arnold would be fun.
Oh, Arnold Palmer. I mean, Arnold Palmer. Arnold
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger.
Palmer,
Arnold
just
Palmer too.
Drinking
Yeah,
iced tea, golfing.
No,
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, I get that, but Arnold Schwarzenegger wouldn't have been able to pull it off with the same joie de vivre that I think that Shatner would have, and I don't know. Hasselhoff would have been too cartoony, I think. So I do kind of get that, but
Yeah.
the
You
reason
have
that
the
I asked
plethora
that
of roles with Kevin Bacon.
what?
The plethora of roles. So Shatner,
Oh.
you're basically like jammed into Kirk. Maybe
T.J.
what was
Hooker,
his-
Boston
TJ
Legal.
Hooker. Yeah. But yeah, that's where you're there. Bacon has the gamut.
Priceline.
and he's just so perfect, in this.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
he needed
So,
a chance to sing.
but yeah, right. Do you? That's the other thing I was going to ask you. Do you think that was part of the contract writer? It's like, yes, I'll do your
Absolutely.
movie, but I need to be able to
100%.
sing my song.
Absolutely, the Bacon Brothers band is a big thing.
Yeah. So then here's the other thing is that he is he is already another Marvel character. He was in the X-Men First Class,
Yep.
and so because of that, and it's not like that's not happened before. I mean, Josh Brolin is Cable and he's also Thanos, so it's happened before. Same thing with Chris Evans and being Johnny Storm and being Captain America. So again, it's happened before. But I mean, I feel like now that he is canon in the MCU as Kevin Bacon and not as part of the X-Men series.
Or did Kevin Bacon star in a movie about the X-Men? I don't know.
Yeah.
My guess is we're gonna get that's a different universe. Kind of that's how they've been kind of hand waving everything.
Yeah, Kate said 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like the 6 degrees of separation deal with Kevin Bacon. I wondered if people still knew about that because that was something that was such a big deal where you take Kevin Bacon and in one movie and connect him to Tom Hanks, and you're like, okay, Kevin Bacon was in this movie with this person, and this person who was in this with Tom Hanks, and you try to do it
So-
within 6 steps.
I'm actually doing this right now for me. If you only count movies, I am 1, 2, 3 steps away from Kevin Bacon. I am 3 degrees separated from Kevin Bacon if you just did movies.
Go. Tell me why.
So Kevin Bacon was in Frost Nixon with Frank Langella. Frank Langella was in Dave with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger and I are in Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Me as archival footage, and him as himself mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. The other thing that was neat about the whole Kevin Bacon thing is that he kept calling Kira Sedgwick. And it would light up on his phone that it was Kira, and then you could hear, like, it sounded like it was actually Kira.
It was her. It was.
And so, like, that to me was, again, kind of a neat little homage type of a thing. So
yeah,
they go,
it was really
Mantis and Drax chase him down. And in this one, Mantis is more badass than I've ever seen her in the
Oh
rest
my
of
God,
her stuff.
yes.
And so at this point, it's like, is she OP? Is she overpowered? Because she can, not only does she have great fighting skills, but she's also got her power that she could go boom, boom, sleep, boom, boom, sleep, boom, boom, kill that guy. Like, she can do so much that, like, is she, like, the most powerful?
Like, I don't know. It feels that way, though, after watching this, right?
Yeah, it does.
She's kind of has a lot of power. I think maybe because the whole empathy thing might wear her down a little bit, but it's interesting. She's a very powerful character in this. It also could just be we ramped it up a little bit for the theatrics, which that's another really good scene with the police.
Yeah.
Drax, you can't just kill people.
Yeah. I mean, and like it started with, like, you know, the first time we really see her use her power is that she's run out of money, and the woman says, "I know how to get to Kevin Bacon's house,"
so
and she's like, "You will give it to me for free," and then she's like, "And give me all your money." So when they finally capture him and get him on the plane, this is where it gets a little bit more meta, because they're talking about him being an actor, and they're like, "Ooh, gross, we hate actors," which of course they are actors, right? And so, she's like, "Be a hero," and then he's using this British voice, which is so cringe. And then then he does the Batman thing, and she says, and I wrote this down because it was so funny: "Be Kevin Bacon, but like if you didn't suck."
Man, I had so many good, like, solid belly laughs watching this. That's definitely one of them.
And then at the end of that tirade, they show Drax for a second, and he goes, "We hate you." And usually, like, that Drax stuff agree with me on this. That Drax stuff sometimes hits or misses. Like, sometimes when he's laughing because he did something like flipping the police car, I'm like, that's a little weird. And then sometimes when he's doing the, like, I'm being super still so I'm invisible, and like taking everything very literally. But with this, sometimes it hits perfectly.
Yeah.
What? Yes, exactly. And so sometimes it hits perfectly, and the whole "we hate you" thing just, like, was spot on. It was just so good.
He delivers that again when they present Kevin Bacon as a gift, and we definitely don't hate him.
So they bring him back. He's under her spell. Groot. By the way, I have this Groot. I have this
very
guy.
Cute.
This little
cute
fella.
Groot.
Cute Groot. He's the Christmas Groot. Groot, like, he kind of lures him out into like the I'm gonna call it the town square of nowhere, and no one's around, and he's looking around, and they have that moment, and maybe again this is maybe one of those that makes you kind of well up, because they've all been working towards this moment, and at this point we think that he had a horrible Yondu Christmas experience, and they turn on the Christmas lights, and of course Nebula's like, ugh, and she turns on the snow, and everything comes on, and there's this great moment, and they roll out the present for him, and then when he realizes the box starts shaking, he's like, what's happening here? Like, we're with him in that moment. Like, we've gotten caught up in how wonderful this gift is that they've given him, and when they bring the actual present and he sees what it is, it all stops, and he's like, this isn't good.
And Pratt sells it really well. Like, his facial expressions and what he doesn't say is very big in that scene.
The only thing that bothered me, and I'm sure this didn't bother you at all,
is that
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I said the only thing that bothered me, and you said what?
That he does a terrible Mario voice.
I'm glad you repeated that. No, and by the way, weird. When we're trying to get more representation, and being true in so many different movies and TV
Yeah,
shows, and then you
Italian
bring,
people, eh.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's a story for another day, my friend. But when they're like, he's like, this isn't a gift. He said this is human trafficking. I wanted him to say kidnapping because kidnapping
I
seems
know, it
more
felt so serious.
like kidnapping. Well, I didn't mean it from the fact that kidnapping's fun and human trafficking isn't, but I
No,
just meant it
but
from the standpoint
the
of it felt more like
terminology.
I felt
Yeah.
felt like it was more kidnapping is what they did. So like, you need to, send him home kind of a situation. Also, when he goes back and he's about to fly off and Sean Gunn is sitting there and he's like, talking about how he saved the universe, like he kind of gets that he's an actor, right? Because he's like, in Footloose you did this and you saved a town, but
Yeah.
he saved the universe using your moves for real. Like, so he says that, so he gets
Yeah.
it. He understands that. But when he says that, he says that he might that he might be the greatest hero alive. What?
Well,
I don't.
I think that's
Um.
that's
Lip.
Kraglin talking as like a
Okay.
Ravager, someone who grew up with him, and I think that's more like that. I'm a Red Sox fan, so I'm going to think that Ted Williams is the greatest baseball player of all time, and I will not hear any other arguments. It's kind of like that. It's recency and closeness bias.
Yeah. Okay. Also, Cosmo is really gives a
Oh my
lot
god.
more character definition
Yeah.
in this movie than we've seen Cosmo in anything else. But it's a weird female sort of Soviet voice.
Well, it should be. It's a Soviet dog.
Yeah,
How
but
would you imagine a Soviet dog? And so I read a whole bunch about this because I
how would
jumped
you
down.
imagine a Soviet dog? Well, let me imagine a Soviet dog.
Carl Barks. That's the name of a Soviet dog. Um, I fell down a rabbit hole with this because people will find the craziest reasons to get upset. Cosmo was a boy in the comics, and they're making Cosmo a girl, and people get upset. But most of the dogs that were actually sent out, including the first dog who Russia sent out into space, were female. So it's closer to reality, even though it's a movie. And Cosmo is awesome. And I literally popped, like I got so excited and was like, Cosmo! As soon as she spoke.
Yeah. By the way, Nico is saying like John Leguizamo is an Italian guy. No, that was 1993. I feel like we've come a long way, and we in what we do in 2022 versus what we were doing in
Yeah.
1993. Because Bob Hoskins was British, so you know, I mean, just putting
I
that
gotta
out
say,
there.
it still was really, like, I revisit that movie occasionally. It's really fun. It's dumb.
Fun is a good word for it. It's not
Yeah.
bad. It's not good. It's fun.
No, it's fun. It's just
Yeah.
so stupid.
But it's
Like,
one of those
why-
things that like it's hardly a Mario movie. But again, it was the only thing we had. It was 1993. It was the only thing we had. We liked it.
we had all these animatronics. We didn't know what to do with them. We made them Koopa Troopas.
Fun. Anyway, so back to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I honestly, there are some moments in there where you're like, okay, the heartwarming moments, and there's a scene where after he's sung his contractually obligated song, which is a weird song, by the way.
It
I-
is. My daughter, my little cuddle bug, was watching it with me, and she goes, "That's not Mariah Carey," because she said, oh, "I want you for Christmas," and she
Yeah.
is very keyed in to Mariah Carey right now. Any blonde woman is Mariah Carey to my daughter. I now realize what happens once the page turns to November, and now your daughter only sees Mariah Carey anywhere.
Yep. So anyway, they have, he has this moment where he turns around, and my wife was like, "Wait, rewind." I was like, "What?" And so she thinks that he is moving like Ren did in Footloose when he's walking away.
Yes, 100% yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see
As
if that's
soon
the
as
thing.
you said that, yes, that's that walk. Yep. God, I love Footloose. Can we do Footloose? Is Footloose on Disney Plus?
You got to cut foot loose. I don't know.
Oh
No, it's not
God,
on. No, why would it be? Although I will tell you that it's
I
been a
don't know
hundred
what
years,
Disney
I think,
doesn't
since
own.
I've seen Top Gun, and I finally went back and rewatched it because I've refused to let myself watch Maverick until I
Oh, dude,
watched the original Top Gun, so I have not watched Maverick
you
yet.
need to watch Maverick. Oh, it's sad that you're not
But
getting
I
to see
will
it in the
now because
theater. All
I've
right,
given myself permission because I've gone back and watched the original. It
Maverick
was really
has no right to be the as good of a movie as it is. No right for like it's
okay.
supposed to be just a dumb popcorn film, and it is a fantastic movie. It's sad that you're not getting to see it in the theater. I literally could talk about Maverick for hours because they enjoyed
No,
it
we're not going to do
thoroughly.
that though.
Oh,
Yeah, we're
okay,
not going to do
not on
that though.
Disney Plus.
So they come back in and they do a little bit more of the flashback because Mantis has this kind of final moment after Kevin Bacon has left with Peter Quill where she's like he's like, why did you guys do all this? Like this is, why did you do this? And so I think it could have been because they were friends. It didn't have to be for this reason, but she says because you're my, basically says because you're my brother, and like she's like afraid of what he's going to do. And at that moment where his face lights up and
Yeah,
he's so excited to have a sister in a world where he had a mom, she passed away, he had a dad, he
he
became
was pretty
evil,
awful.
he had a dad like represented when Yondu, and Yondu's dead. Now and he had Gamora, but she died. Like he's lost everyone. Here's
Yeah.
somebody that he has now in his life, and it's like this is the greatest gift. He basically says this is the
Yeah.
greatest Christmas gift I could ever get. And so that's what brought me to tears, is that moment right there, because you've gone
Well,
on this journey with Star-Lord from the beginning and seen all that he's lost.
yeah. I mean, it turns out that the true meaning of Christmas was the friends we made along the way.
Wow. Did you just make that up? That's great.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's totally original.
so they go back in after that to them talking about, plus we wanted to do this for you because you had a bad Christmas. And he's like, well, he didn't know the whole story. And then they flash
Yeah,
back to this is like the origin of where Pete got his guns. And
yeah,
that's cool. And then
yeah,
they show him and Yondu in a sort of a flashback where they're sitting there and he's rustling his hair and, he's
yeah.
punching him in the shoulder. And, it's just a neat little scene. But I don't know. Again, I would have liked to have seen it
Is it
like
the
with.
animation that throws you off? Is that just what it is? It's not what happened or the fact that it's a flashback. It's just the animation.
Yeah, like I feel like, again, give me Michael Rooker. Now the good news is Michael Rooker didn't have to wear the blue makeup in this one because all
Yeah,
he had to do was show up. But I was like, give me Michael Rooker and this other kid, and I would have had a more emotional connection to it.
I can see that. I can see that. I
So,
like that
but it's
it
fine.
took
It's
you
fine. It just
out
took
of
me in and
that
out of it.
fiction, but it brought me into the holiday fiction. It made it stand out from any other Marvel movie, just like the credits did, with the special presentation and the Christmas lights and like the cheerier tone.
Yeah. So I mean, like here's them sitting around and him kicking that. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. They made the choice they made, and it's fine. I just like I would have made a different choice, but I don't get to do that. So and in James we trust, right? Like James Gunn, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
I sad that this and then Volume 3 is definitely going to be the last things he does for Marvel.
for
Is
Marvel.
there?
Well, especially again
Yeah,
as he's moving on to be, it'll be
yeah.
interesting if he takes what he's learned from the MCU and applies it to the DC
He
universe.
already did.
And part of it,
Already did.
yeah, I agree. But part of it is that when I'm looking at that, I think to myself, oh, because I'm such a Disney fan, I'm like, oh, you're going to be stealing from us. And then the other part of me says that
Yup.
competition is healthy. We benefit from the Universal Disney,
Oh,
competition, even though
absolutely. And
my heart belongs to
Universal
Disney.
Universal is gearing up for a war. It's pretty great. They're
And
coming for Disney.
there was a rumor they would buy Warner Brothers, which would give them DC, which would, man, that would reset so much. It'd
Oh
be
my
crazy.
god! If they got
And
DC, how great would it be? Like,
but I'm such a huge DC
there's all
fan
these
as well,
DC
like comic
coasters
books.
that are just not. They're just off the
The
shelf
Superman
coaster
roller
with the paint
coasters
in
and
it.
the Batman
Yeah,
roller coasters that are the off the
yeah,
shelf, yeah. The
yeah.
Joker. Yeah.
That's a fun
So
coaster, actually. I remember riding that when it goes in like the warehouse. That was a good coaster.
So the fun is the final thing is there's a post credit scene, but it doesn't further the story at all, and it's a weird one. It's a very meta
It's
thing
fun.
where it's like there's Groot and he's standing there and they're making him a Christmas tree, and then he drops it all, and they're like ah, and Cosmo's like ah Groot, and then Rocket cheats the camera and says, well, I guess we got to do another special. And I'm like, I don't like that. I want there to be something that furthers the whole thing along, but
Well,
it was
how are
cute.
they?
It was cute.
I mean, I think you missed the one thing is, uh, what? How does Bucky get his arm back?
Right. That's the when we were talking about the gifts. I totally glossed over the gifts because Groot gets a Game Boy,
Yeah,
Rocket gets Bucky's arm. It's like, how did you get that? And then also, how does he get it back?
I mean, she's the most
Um,
dangerous woman in the universe. That's how
Cosmo
she got it.
Cosmo gives a dead rat. Nebula is dancing. That's weird. And then Groot gives his little gifts, which are like very smartly they're recaps of the show we just watched, basically. And part like the logic part of my head says he didn't see Drax flip that police car, and he didn't see them chase down
Yes,
Kevin Bacon.
that bothered me.
But for us, the people who saw that, we are watching a recap of how we got to where we were. So I think that for that reason it's cute. But I'm, again, in my logic head, I'm going. He didn't see any of that. How would he have known to
Right.
recreate that? Even if they told him the story, well, how does he know what a police car looks like? Anyway, splitting
Yeah,
hairs at that
yeah.
point, my friend.
No, I mean, that's what we do here on Deep in the
Yeah.
Plus. We don't just like go for the surface. We get down in there and talking about how there's a couple little parts where it takes you out of the story. I think is important. I think there's things like that every now and then, like Spider-Man. What's that 2? When Macy Gray is all of a sudden there. I'm like, why is Macy Gray in this movie? What just happened?
Yeah. Tony said, I loved her reaction when Rocket asked her how she got it, how she
Yeah,
got the arm. That's funny.
yeah.
Okay, well, let's do this. And again, thank you guys so much for being with us as always. We're gonna do another Deep in the Plus next week. Is gonna be Andor. Patrick won't be on because he hasn't watched it yet. But it should be Nick, Ron, and Desi and myself, and we'll be talking about Andor, the incomplete season 1. So if you haven't watched it yet, give it a watch. Join us next week. It'll be a lot of fun. And then and then this Sunday you're gonna be on Park Center, aren't you?
Is it this Sunday?
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna be on Park Center this Sunday.
There you
Wow,
go.
what are we gonna talk about?
Let's not talk about Bruno. That's the one thing we don't do.
No.
What what will we talk about? I don't know, dude. I'm a little scared about what exactly what will we talk about? It's gonna be crazy.
I
Um,
think he should come on one of our shows and just show that he's actually a good sport. You're a multimillionaire. You'll be okay, Bobby.
yeah,
Um, just
be a
just come
human right now.
and yeah, show you're
Be a
human and
human.
not a robot.
Okay. All right. So this
All
is
right.
it. And again, thank you guys for watching. Please give us a like if you have not already, as it helps people to find the show. Tell a friend. Tell a friend about how much you enjoy the show. We would love to have some more people join the fray. We appreciate you guys joining us in the chat. I'm just looking at Dawn, Katie, Steven, Chief, Jarrett, Kate, Nico, Tony. May have mentioned you already. Joe. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but thank you guys so much, as always, for being with us, for chatting. Even when your chat goes off the rails and you start talking about something else, we still love reading about it. So thank you guys. Here it is, though, Patrick. We've watched the Guardians movies. You've seen all the Guardians movies. You and I reviewed the Groot shorts, really in preparation for this moment, my friend. You've put on the hat. You've celebrated the holidays. You've watched this thing 3 times, but now the people need to know. Would you recommend this presentation?
All right. So this is a qualified recommendation. We had a little bit watching it with my daughter. Like I said, her little cuddle bug was there, all snuggled up with us, and then we had to stop it because I didn't think a 3-year-old it was appropriate. There was a lot of violence. So I think holiday specials are what you're supposed to do with your family. I wouldn't do this with my family. I would watch this one every single year. I'll probably watch it with my wife, or maybe I'll watch it with my buddies. But it is an every single year watch for me in terms of a holiday classic and showing it to your family. I mean, your mileage may vary. You know your kids better than I do. Show it to your loved ones that you think would like it. But for me, it's definitely this is in my must watch now for every holiday season.
Well, and you know what? For me, I agree with you. It was a lot of fun. I watched it the first time. I was like, that was good. It wasn't really what I expected, but it was good. Watched it a second time. I was like, okay, I'm kind of down with this. When my daughter comes back, we'll sit and watch it with her again. But I do think that the caveat, it is you have to know the Guardians. Like I feel like for this to matter to you, you have to know the Guardians, and so I don't think you can watch this on its own. Werewolf by Night, I think you can watch on its own because
Oh,
it's just,
definitely,
yeah, it's just
definitely.
a one shot. But this one,
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it for anybody who is into Marvel, anybody who is who is into Guardians. Definitely watch this, and it's a lot of fun. But I think you need to know the core IP. So we saved you from trivia tonight. We saved you from trivia tonight. No one caught it because you did such a good job of sneaking the word in. And I swear we didn't prep this at all. I didn't tell Patrick what we were doing, but halfway through the show, I sent him a word. I thought about sending you like 5 words. And then I was like, nah, let's just keep this simple. I sent him one word, and you expertly executed that word. And you just, I tried not to make an expression when you finally said it. So you want to tell him what the word was?
It was Cuttlebug.
Yep.
I got Cuttlebug.
It was Cuttlebug,
twice.
and it was because I was thinking about the stuff that, like, when he was singing his song about, like, cuddling and snuggling, and it's Christmas time, and swaddled in clothes, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was
Oh my
like,
god.
Cuttlebug.
It's such a weird song, but I liked it.
It was. I was
Yeah.
like, Cuttlebug. He's totally gonna like. I don't know where he's gonna do this, but I'm betting he's gonna make it seem a little clunky. And you put it in talking about your daughter. I was like, ah, it was too easy. It was too easy. But no, sir, you didn't flinch. You expertly delivered it as I would expect, nonetheless, from someone who starred in something with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the Cuttlebug did it. Great job. And reminds me of the Love Bug Chief said, which is, of course, you're the Love Bug guy. So,
I am the Love Bug guy.
obviously you'd want to
Can't
be
wait
doing
to go
that, so.
bananas.
Ah, I see what you did there. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching. Patrick, love talking to you, my brother. Thank you so much for doing
Absolutely.
this.
Always a good time.
We'll have to get together again and do something else fun. But thank you for being here, for everyone that was here, for watching every week with us. We appreciate you. We love our WIGS members. Thank you so much to our WIGS members, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. If you don't know about it, check it out at patreon.com/WDWNT and be a part of the family. So thanks so much. We will see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody.